manifest the day that I would get out of this camp. I would manifest my freedom. But above all of that, I would always, every single day for 3 years, I would think of my future husband and my future children and the house that I lived in. Forward 3 years later, I come to Canada. I meet my best friend, the love of my life, who I've been with for 27 years.
So do you ever envy those so-called hashtag couples goals?
Well, when you first fall in love with someone, you get butterflies every time you see them.
You lust them.
You're infatuated with them.
You want to be with them all the time, like best friends.
Do you want that to last forever?
Together, let's discover what it takes to say a massive yes to all the above through our topical discussions, our world-renowned guests that will help guide the way to a happier, sexier, and fun-loving relationship.
We're not doctors or therapists. We are just two normal individuals who have had many ups and downs in our 23-year relationship.
And counting.
We've amassed our own wisdom over the years, but we're still learning, just like you.
Nina and I believe you can have it all and still live your best lives, as long as you're willingly and consistently discover each other in new ways. And that right there is what the show is all about.
We're Nina.
And Roger.
And this is
the Head Over Heels Show. Yeah, baby.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Head Over Heels Show, where I help you see how incredibly powerful you are, that you too can create a life that you're head over heels for. I mean, isn't that exciting? Welcome, 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 everybody. I am so excited and honored that you are here listening to my podcast. I mean, having me behind your ears, it means so much to me and to my message, because I think every one of us on this planet is born to be joyful and happy and fulfilled. And the only thing that is stopping us from getting there is our own mind and our own ability to create what we truly, truly love and desire in our life. I wanted to start this episode with saying that I tried my entire life, I tried to live with an optimistic attitude and positive mindset, because I grew up in an environment where almost every day of my life was a threat. Every day it was, fight or flight situation. When you grow up in a war-torn country, when everything around you is against you living a good life, it becomes your life's mission to prove that to be wrong, because we all have a purpose. I always believed there's a reason why I was put on this planet Earth. There's a reason why we're all here. And that's not just going to be me living and being born and raised in a war-torn country and I die and that's it. No, there's more to it. I always believe there's more to my life than just that. You guys, I was born and raised in Iraq. A lot of you know my story, but those of you that don't know, I grew up in a war. Iraq and Iran had a war going on for 10 years, basically throughout my childhood. And then later, when that ended, the United States and Iraq got into war together, which was the Desert War in 1991. And living in sanction for 10 years and not being able to leave the country or had no rights as a human being was really tough on my family and on all of us. And being Christians in Iraq was especially tough. We were so afraid to say we were Christians because we were going to get slaughtered and killed. My cousins, my uncles, tons of my family members were killed for that reason. So it was another thing for us to be fearful of. Long story short, when the United States invaded Iraq in 1991, it was our chance to escape, to get the fuck out of there because we had suffered for so long. I mean, I have many stories of that, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about how no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, what your culture and your background is, you can still make a good life for yourself as long as you consistently think positive and have an optimistic outlook in life. You can create that. And I'm an example. I'm a proof of it. So for years and years and years, I would tell my family, and I would always, I've always believed this to be true, that I have manifested everything that I have in my life. But I couldn't prove it to anybody. I couldn't prove that this manifestation thing is real until recent years, that the science have proved that this is linked to brain and your heart, and your neurons and your vibration connected together will create the desired goal that you want, and ultimately, live the life of fulfillment and joy. So I would share these stories with my family, and they're like, no, you're crazy. You're this. It's not all. We don't all think positive. We don't all think negative. It's like, it became something that I was almost ashamed of talking about. So I just sort of buried it under the rug and let it go. But my story began when we escaped Iraq in 1991, March of 1991. It was right before Easter. Because the American had invaded Iraq, the Iraq kind of split, became two countries. Whoever's in the north can go in the south, and vice versa. And we, at that time, we were up in the north because we had a house in the north. We fled Baghdad because of the bombing. And we were up there, and we got threatened that we were going to get bombed up north because the American military was basing their stuff there. So Saddam threatened that it was going to chemically bomb the entire northern region of Iraq, and we would all instantly die. And we had seen that in 1986. He had legit killed the entire village with chemicals because they were not agreeing with his terms. Anyway, we left Iraq. We fled Iraq when that happened. At this point, it's my father, my mother, myself, my sister, and my little brother. Now, I'm only 14, my sister's 16, and my brother's 9 years old. And then we start walking, along with millions of other people, start walking, fleeing the country. Some went towards Iran, some went towards Syria, and we continued going towards Turkey because we were told there were a lot of mudslides and people were drowning due to the snow melting from the mountains. Like, if you don't know Iraq, a semi-tropical country, the northern part of it is all mountains and valleys, and it's beautiful. And in the southern part is desert. It's palm trees and all that happy stuff. So, like everyone else that is trying to get to safety and to freedom, we start walking. And about 2 days into walking up mountains and valleys and trying to balance ourselves from, sliding into the rivers and water, my father was in his 60s. My mother was in her 50s. My father had hernia, and his hernia started acting up from excessive walking and carrying heavy stuff on his back. And my mom's feet start swelling up, and they're like, you guys, we are going to take it easy, and we're going to walk slowly. So why don't you guys go and save yourselves, and we'll meet up with you guys when we can. At this point, it's dark. We're all walking through moonlight. It's cold. It's mud. It's snow everywhere. People dying all over the place from hunger, from not even being able to walk. I even recall one incident when a man had to shoot his mother, his elderly mother, that was occupying his horse, and had to put his pregnant wife on the horse. And it was such a shocking and scary thing to see. But we kept walking, kept continuing. It's a life and death. You have to just go and save yourself and save your loved ones and try and survive. My parents asked us to save ourselves and go. At that moment, you guys, something came over me. All these years of suffering in a war-torn country, suffering from being my family and friends and everyone we know being executed and killed and raped and murdered. All these things came to my head. All these years that I dodged a bullet, that I didn't die, that I could have died a million times. I said to myself, there's no way in hell I'm going to let this happen. I am going to save my parents. I am strong-willed. I have everything in my power to make this happen. And just this monster just exploded out of my body at that moment. I looked at my sister. We're like, nope, no, mom, no, dad. We're going to take care of you guys to safety. And their eyes just blew up. They're like, what? You're not going to do such a thing. We're like, yes, we are. My sister and I took everything off of our backs, all the clothes, everything that we had, all the photos, everything we had, tried to save. We threw it all away, only saved the food that we had brought with us. And we ended up carrying our parents for 21 days, walking up the mountains and down the valley, through rivers, through waters, through everything, just to get to freedom and safety. And guess what? We did it. Through all of that misery, through all of that suffering, we brought our parents to safety. Now, it took us another 3 years to get out of that refugee camp, but I'm sharing this with you to let you know that every one of you have that power throughout your life to do the same. Now that there's a scientific evidence that manifestation is linked to your brain waves and your heart vibration, and if you truly get in touch with your soul, with your insights, with your beings, with the existence of who you are, and you get into that flow zone, you will be able to manifest everything that's in your life. Because let's face it, we manifest every day. Whether our life is good or bad, we manifest it. We make it happen. However, because we are trained to think of fight or flight, of negative, of survival, that's all we're manifesting all the time. So I'm going to share with you a story. During the 3 years that we lived in a refugee camp, I lived with my parents, my brother and sister, under a military tent that was given to us by the UN, United Nations. My father used to have a little radio that was operated on the batteries. Hence, we live in the tents. There's no electricity. There's no water. There's no nothing there. So we would be working all day trying to get water, stay in line for food. I would carry these jugs of water in my hands, and each of them would be like 4 gallons. My father put a rope around it, and around 2 of each side. And I would go walk for miles, my sister and I, and fill these gallons of water, 4 gallons, 2 on each side. And I would bring them home, walking hours at a time. And I would come in, my dad would be listening to his radio, his world news. I would get so angry, and I'd be like, why are you so angry all the time? We are going to get somewhere. We are going to get to freedom. We are going to get out of here. He'd be like, no, we're never getting out of here. The world's falling apart. And at that young age, I realized that we have a choice. We could think positive and stay happy and keep going and be optimistic that there's something waiting for us on the other side of this suffering, of this misery. Or it could be like my father, miserable, upset all the time about what's happening in the world, and that we're never going to get out of this refugee camp, that we're going to die here unless we go back home, which was not an option. At that point, for my sister and I, was not an option. We're like, Dad, we waited all these years to get out of the country, to get to safety. This is our only way. We are going to get accepted as a refugee in one of those countries, and we are going to go. So back to the radio story. Seeing my father would listen to the world news and get upset all day long. I, on the other hand, would steal his radio at night when he would fall asleep, and I would sit there and put my hands behind my head like this, and I would just listen to this beautiful singer. She was an Egyptian singer. Her name was Kulthum. She would sing. Every one of her song was like a viral all over Middle East. And it was like 1 hour long, and it was like love song. And when you'd listen to this song, you feel these emotions rising from your gut, from your heart. Like I'm having goosebumps just talking about it now because it's taking me back to that time. And I would listen to the song, you guys, and I would manifest my future. I would manifest the day that I would get out of this camp. I would manifest my freedom. But above all of that, I would always, every single day for 3 years, I would think of my future husband and my future children and the house that I lived in. And this is how we used to go. I would imagine him being really, really beautiful, very handsome, strong. I didn't see his face, but I knew he was really handsome. And he would love me, and he would spoil me. He would put me on a pedestal. That was his everything. And I would dream of having a girl and a boy. Only 2 kids. I come from a big family, and I always thought, I'm only going to have 2 kids. I want to make sure they both eat enough. Which, coming from a big family, a lot of you, if you are, you understand what I mean. Growing up in poverty, there's barely any food for everybody. So we would have a little bit of whatever my mom would make. Long story short, I wanted to have a girl and a boy because I had a little brother, younger brother than me, and he would always try to fight with me, always trying to one up on me. And I would always think to myself, I'm going to have a girl first because girls are smarter. She would teach her brother the way to live his life, and she would teach him all the good things. And that's how I take care of my brother. I raised my brother, basically. And she will teach him good things. So it was always freedom first, a handsome husband that would put me on a pedestal, and 2 children, a girl and a boy. And of course, a roof over my head. I would have this little cute house. Forward 3 years later, I come to Canada. I meet my best friend, the love of my life, who I've been with for 27 years, who treats me like a queen, who puts me on a pedestal, who loves me more than anything he's ever loved in his life. I have 2 beautiful children, a girl and a boy, who are incredible human beings. I have an amazing house. And a bonus, I have a fur baby that I love more than anything besides my family. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because I manifested all of this. And for years, I would go crazy trying to tell everybody, my friends and my family, I'm like, you guys, everything that happens in your life, it's the outcome of your thoughts. Your thoughts become reality. Your reality become you're who you are. And they would be like, you're full of it. You're this and you're this. So I kind of sort of buried this under the rug because I would listen to that voice in my head and say, yeah, they're right. But then I would keep manifesting everything I wanted in my life. Like so many stories. And I can go through those stories later on in next episodes. But I had no idea I was doing this because I'm going to share with you, this is neuroscience. It's not just woo-woo manifestation. Neuroscience and brain. We have something in the back of our brain called reticular activating system. This RAS, short for reticular activating system, it receives 10 million bits of data and information per a second. Can you imagine that? But it only filters and stores what it deems important. So anything that you focus your mind on, it deems it's important. So what do you deem important? For me, those 3 years, I was sitting in that refugee camp, imagining, feeling good from the music I was listening to, and creating my future over and over and over. Now, all the neuroscience studies shows that if you repeatedly manifest or focus on your desired outcome, you'll eventually get that. You'll eventually hit your goal and you get there because you're retraining your brain to focus on what's important. And there's many, 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 many studies on that. And the latest one is by Dr. James Doty, who is a neuroscientist and a brain surgeon. He wrote a book on this. And actually, I just finished reading the book. It's called Mind Magic. It's incredible, you guys. I'm going to link it here in the show notes. You have to go read it and get it because I always thought my thoughts were 100% real and true, but others thought I was crazy or I was too much or I was, blah, 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 blah. But my perspective was true that your thoughts becomes your reality. If you focus on them and if you focus on positive, you'll get positive. If you focus on negative, you're going to get negative. It's just the way it works. If you're optimistic and focusing on positive outlook in life, then that's what your brain is going to store. But the opposite is true also. If you're focusing on negative things and being victim of your circumstances or your past, then that's what your brain is going to store, and it's going to repeatedly show you that through people, places, events, and circumstances. I know someone very dear to me that all he focuses on is, I don't have enough. I can never make enough money. I can never be healthy. I'm constantly sick in the hospital. The brain can only take so much of the positive when all is hearing is negative, negative, negative. That person is constantly sick. That person is constantly broke. And that person cannot get ahead in life because that person's brain is hijacked by all the negativity. And I know people, myself, one of them, that because I am constantly trying to focus on the good and positive and kindness and things that are good to me, that is what I'm creating. That's what's coming to my life. You guys, I backtracked my 30 years. For past 10 years, I've been studying and learning in the mind. And I backtracked my 30 years of living my life in Canada. And everything that has come to my life, it was the result, direct result of my thoughts at that season, at that moment of my life. You too can do that. You too can sit there and record your life, analyze your life. If there's something that you want to change, say, what can I do to change this? How I can do this? And you can go back into your life and see where you were thinking positively and where you were thinking negatively and how that impacted you. Because this is reality. This is reality. There was a recent study done in the Harvard School about how the brain is connected to your heart and how the vibration from the heart and neurons from your brains were creating your focused attention. Whatever you're putting your attention to, that's what you're going to create. I mean, 10 bits of data going through our brains every second. That's insane. And we only take 50 bits of that data and store it in our subconscious mind, which, by the way, is the core of your manifestation. The only time that you can manifest something in your life is when it's stored in your subconscious mind. So if you're manifesting, or if you're thinking of your past or of your childhood, that you were beaten up, or that you had a tough childhood, or that, nothing went right for you, that is all you are going to be storing in your subconscious mind. Therefore, that is what your reality is. But if you find a way to overcome that trauma and dig deep within yourself, you'll see that your soul is so powerful to the point that you can manifest every good thing in your life. I'm a proof of that. And a million other people are proof of that. It used to be, manifestation used to be woo, woo, woo. Oh, it's spiritual, it's religious. It has nothing to do with this. Yes, all religions, all spirituality is telling you to be a good human being, to have a good outlook in life, to have good perspective in your life, and just to do good, because that's what you're going to get. It's like a boomerang. Whatever you throw out there in the world, that's what you're going to receive. It's 100% true. But a lot of us get so easily bored and they give up. They're like, oh, manifestation is not working. I tried it. So many people DM me, message me, email me. Well, I tried to manifest, $1 million didn't work. I tried to manifest a fit body. It didn't work. It's called repetitious boredom. Remember the story? For 3 years, I sat there and I thought of my life, of my beautiful husband, of my beautiful children, over and over and over. What I was doing, I was focusing my attention into what I wanted, and I was visualizing my future. I could see myself living the life that I'm living now. I could feel it through those love songs that were coming through that radio. So I intended it in my subconscious. And that's what my reality is today. What is your intention? What are you focusing on? You know, when I first got into real estate, I wanted to thrive. I wanted to build the business. I wanted to be so proud with my husband. We worked 17-hour days. And I said to my husband, I said, there's going to be more to this. We can make money easier than this. We're working so hard. It's so much. My broker at the time, he's like, well, why don't you get a coach to expedite your knowledge and your skills? Because you're a great salesperson, but if you got a coach, he's going to tune you up and he's going to help you even better. I'm like, perfect. We hired a coach for 5 years. And my coach would tell me, repetitious boredom. And I didn't know what that meant before. So what that meant was, she would say, you want to have a great business, you want to build your empire, then you got to get on the phone and you're going to call people and it's going to be boring. A lot of people are going to hang up in your face. A lot of people are going to tell you to fuck off. We're not interested. You're going to get a lot of rejections, but you have to train your mind to keep going. I was like, light bulb just clicked. I can do this. I've done this before. I have the willpower to do this. So for 5 years, my husband and I would knock on doors. We worked 17 hours to create our business, our empire, our life. Yeah, there were so many days that I would be so exhausted. I would be on the phone for 2-3 hours and nothing would come out of it. No one would say, yes, come list me. No one would say, yes, I'm looking to buy. But what would happen 2-3 months later, we would have so much business. Business would flood our lap from everywhere. And I would say to myself, where is this coming from? Oh, yes, I know. From all these mundane hours that I spent calling and knocking on doors. Repetitious boredom. You create this in your mind. I would say affirmation before I start working. I would say, I am strong. I am smart. I am selling this house today. They are home. They are going to call. They were going to answer their phones. They're going to love me and they're going to list with me or they're going to buy their house with me because I'm capable. These were affirmations I would have to tell myself over and over and over before I would start my business day. And that's how my husband and I created our business. It was from ground up. It was certainly not business given to us by friends and family. It was a business that we cultivated by relentless and constant reassuring our mind that we could do this, that we're capable. This is not something that I made up. This is now science proven. There was a study done in psychosomatic medicine. They found that people who practiced mindfulness meditation had increased gray matter concentration in brain regions involved in learning, memory, and emotional regulation. These changes can enhance one's ability to stay focused on goals and maintain positive outlook, both of which are crucial for manifesting. These things are true, but most of us live our lives with the belief that we have no choice in determining our future because we have no way to positively affect our learned behaviors. I'm here to tell you that's not true. That's not true. I have seen so many examples in people that I know and people that I don't know that if you think positive and have an optimistic attitude of life and you have that perspective, then that's what you're going to get. But there's two sides to everything, right? There's hot and cold. There's up and down. There's duality in everything we do in the world. So therefore, there's the positive and the negative mindsets. I'm here to urge you to choose the positive, to speak good into yourself, to love yourself from inside out. You can do it. I've done it many, many, many times. I'm not a magician. I don't just say, oh, my life is perfect and it becomes perfect. I work on it. I'm consistently working on my mind. It's been taking me 10 years to study brain and minds of a human being and to understand how it works. And I'm now have come to realize that everything that I've always thought in my heart and in my mind was true. That if you're good, if you're kind, if you do good, it's like a boomerang effect. It will come back to you. And I mean it to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be good to yourself. Loving yourself. It starts with that. And it starts with the little things that you do every day. How do you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up all flustered? I have a long day of work. I have deadlines. I have this. I have to make lunches. I have to take care of the kids. I have to take them back. I have activities. Or do you wake up and say, thank you for another breath. Thank you for another day of my eyes open. I'm alive. I can make so much shit happen today. I love who I am. I love my life and I love my surroundings and where I'm going. That is the ultimate fulfillment in life. And every one of you could do that, no matter where you're from, who you are, what language you speak, what religion you have, what your background is. You can do what I do and millions of other people out there. So you have a choice to stay positive and do good shit in your life, or continue with a mindset that you're a victim of your past. You have a choice. All I'm going to say is thank you for listening to this episode and all my other episodes. You know what I love more than my family? Well, more than anything, but not more than my family, is you loving these episodes that I'm sharing and share them with someone that you love, that you think need to hear these words, needs to hear this. And also, you know how much I love social media. If you think there's any value in this episode, please share it and tag me in. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and all of it. All of this is going to be on my show notes, along with Dr. James Doty's book, which is called The Mind Magic. It's incredible. It's the science behind the manifestation. Everyone should read it to believe that it's not only spiritual, it's also science proven that positive thinking will lead to a very positive and fulfilled life. So on that note, I wish you from the bottom of my heart what I have. Love you guys. If you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, please hit subscribe and give us a 5-star rating on whichever platform you're tuning in from.
It means the world to us to have your support on our show in this little mini way.
You can also stalk us on Instagram at Head Over Heels Show for more juicy stuff.
If you have any questions, send them via email at us@hohshow.com or DM us on socials.
Thank you for having us between your ears. And as always, we wish you what we have.